The video went out at exactly 8 a.m. on Christmas morning. I timed it perfectly between the unwrapping and the champagne. Just after they'd smugly congratulated themselves for surviving yet another year of dysfunction disguised as tradition, one by one, their phones lit up with a family group message. They were still in their pajamas when it hit them, the footage, the audio, the silence that followed. My mother was the first to call, her sobs choking her words. "How could you do this to us? Please tell me you haven't shown this to the police." I didn't answer. I just watched her call fade into voicemail. My parents had always had a soft spot for my ex-wife, Alina. She was blonde, composed, cold, a woman who knew how to sip wine without smudging the rim and how to compliment my mother's cooking without sounding rehearsed. They never saw the cracks, the control, the gaslighting, the way she'd shrink me in private and shine in public. They adored her more than they ever tolerated me, but when it came to my daughter Mira, they despised her. Mira wasn't planned. She came after the divorce, the product of a brief relationship I had with a waitress who, tragically, died during childbirth. Somehow, in their eyes, Mira carried the weight of my mistakes. She was loud, curious, with brown eyes and skin the color of warm earth, too alive for their manicured world. This Christmas, the message came wrapped in mistletoe and cruelty. "Alina will be joining us for Christmas, but don't bring your disgusting daughter or stay home." I read it twice, then once more, and I smiled. The plan didn't start that day. It began months earlier when Mira asked, "Why doesn't Grandma ever hug me? Why doesn't Grandpa look me in the eyes?" So, I did what any father would do. I started paying attention. I noticed things, the whispers my mother shared on the phone, the subtle relief in my father's voice whenever I made an excuse to skip a visit, and Alina, already circling, lurking in their lives like smoke in old curtains. She was showing up for dinners, calling my mother Mom, again, and they were rewriting history, cutting me out of the photos and framing the lie. But the final straw wasn't a word, it was a photo. My cousin had sent an innocent update. Everyone gathered at my parents' house in October, Alina at the center, her hand resting on my father's shoulder as if she belonged there. No invite, no mention, just my entire bloodline erasing mine. I don't lash out. I engineer. So, I hacked the group chat history, old messages, the kind they'd forgotten about. Messages where my mother had referred to Mira as a mongrel, where Alina had joked that Mira should have been adopted out, like a stray. I screen-recorded everything, dated, time-stamped, cross-referenced. Next came the surveillance. I sent them a small, custom gift, a decorative clock. It had eyes and it watched. And what it heard was worse than I could have imagined. Conversations about money. How Alina was helping them access my inheritance early. My own mother talking about signing my name on legal forms while I was busy being a single dad. My father laughing, Alina planning. Then came the real bombshell, my daughter's trust. The one I'd set up after her mother died, a quiet fund held under a proxy name. My parents had found it, and they were moving to drain it with forged documents. One more signature and it would have been gone. I waited until December 24th. I drove to the city, left Mira with my neighbor, a sweet retired lawyer who knew the full story. He cried when I told him, said I reminded him of his son. That night, I rented a room across from my parents' place, watching their house from behind blackout curtains. They had no idea I was in town. At 2 a.m., I uploaded the video. A tight edit, audio footage, screenshots, conversations about fraud, racist slurs, Alina kissing my father while my mother laughed, documents with forged signatures, and a slow zoom on the trust account name with Mira's initials. I scheduled the send for 8 a.m., but I didn't stop there. Earlier that week, I dropped off a sealed envelope at the local police station inside a flash drive, another copy of the video, a legal statement, names and details just in case they tried to bury it. On December 26th, I asked to meet them. I chose a quiet cafe, public, neutral. I was already seated when they arrived. My mother was pale and shaking, my father stiff and silent, Alina still hiding behind her sunglasses. I stood when they reached the table. "You've ruined us," my mother hissed. I looked at her, then at him, then at her again. "No," I said calmly, "you ruined yourselves. I just turned on the light." Alina leaned forward, her voice dripping with venom. "This won't hold in court. You can't prove intent." I slid a folder across the table. Inside were signed confessions, digital logs, lawyer letters, enough to burn them legally but just shy of prison. "I don't need you jailed," I said. "Just broke. And known." Her hands trembled. My father looked down. My mother finally broke, tears streaming down her face. I stood, my voice steady. "My daughter," I said, "will never know people like you. She'll grow up free and kind and powerful. They didn't follow me when I walked out. I didn't need the police to act, but they did. Alina's accounts were frozen. My father's firm fired him when the footage leaked. My mother lost her church status, her reputation, her friends. People started asking questions. Ugly questions. They tried to spin it, but the truth had teeth. Mira never saw the video. She didn't need to. All she saw was that Daddy smiled more. We spent Christmas in a small cabin with snow outside and hot cocoa inside, just the two of us. She laughed that night, full-bellied and free, and I sat back quietly, content. Some betrayals you forgive. Others you turn into firewood and burn the whole damn tree down.